I'm Matt Trainer, Product Experience Manager for AI Studio, and I'm here today to give you a product demo from end to end. All right, so the first time you get AI Studio open, it's going to open up to the projects page. You can see here that I've got a lot of projects on my projects page. That's because me and my collaborators have been using AI Studio for quite a while. The first time you open up your AI Studio, it's probably going to be a blank screen, and that's okay. You'll get there. So the first thing I'm going to walk you through is one of the first things that you're going to want to do when you get access to AI Studio. If you navigate to your account tab, this is going to give you all your system information, account information, and be the place where you invite collaborators. So the first thing we're going to do is click on Account tab. You can see here, this is the place where you're going to have information such as your display name. This is the account name that everybody in your account will see. I recommend changing this to something that makes sense to your team. You can see here, you can simply click the pencil button and change that to whatever it is. When you first open AI Studio, your display name is probably going to be something like Shy Goose or Accompanied Starfish or something like that. That's system generated. Just change that to make something that makes sense for you and your team. You'll also see your account ID here. You see your email address, your title, if you're a team manager or if you have a different role within AI Studio. You'll see here the version of AI Studio that you're using, and there's a little checkbox here that you can check to notify when a new version of AI Studio is available. Every time a new version of the software comes out, you'll have a notification in-app that that software is available to go download. So I'm going to circle back to that display name real quick. The display name isn't really important to change. If you only have one, it's easy to manage. You'll always remember what account you're in. But if you have multiple accounts like me, and you can see that by navigating to your initials up here in the top right-hand corner and clicking that. If you have multiple accounts, it's going to get really difficult to remember which account is which unless you change the name to something that makes sense. So you can see here, this one we didn't change the name. I don't know what account that is. Appropriate Starfish, that makes no sense to me. But the rest of these accounts have been named something that makes sense to me and I can remember them. While we're here, if you click on that, your initials in the top right, this is also where you can sign out from AI Studio, manually sign out. All right, so let's keep moving on. This is the General tab under the account. Now I'm going to navigate to Team Settings. Team Settings is where you're going to see every active member of your team. So you can see my team is listed here. You can see here how many seats you have available, how many seats are being occupied by an active member of your team, and you can also see pending account activations here. I'll get there in just a sec. So as I mentioned, you can see everybody on your team here, and you can also see their role. Today, there are two different roles within AI Studio. There's a team manager, and there's a contributor. Team managers and contributors aren't really that much different as far as their role settings. Team managers have to approve invitation requests from contributors, and team managers have the ability to be able to edit the status of a different member of the team. So a team manager can click these three dots right here and it can remove a user. A contributor cannot. A team manager can also edit the role of somebody on your team. So I could come down here to one of my contributors and I could simply click and I could promote them to a team manager if I wanted. All right, while we're here, when you want to invite a new member, simply click the new member, invite new member button. That'll pop open a little dialog box. Simply type in the email address of the contributor that you want to invite, hit the invite button. That will send a system-generated email to them to activate their account and download and install AI Studio. Probably the same flow that you just got done going through if you already have AI Studio. All right, so over here on the left-hand side, like I said earlier, I can see the active members of my team. I can also see in this pending box members who have been invited but have not activated their account yet. So if you want to send those members a quick reminder, simply click over on the right-hand side with the three little dots, and you can send them a reminder that'll generate another email to them to activate their account. You can also delete them out of your queue from here as well. Requests. Requests are invitations that are sent from contributors inside your account. Contributors can invite, but their invitation has to be approved by a team manager. If I had any requests in my account as a team manager, I could navigate here and I could approve that request. Once I approve it, that invitation will be sent to that user and the status of that invitation will move from requests up to pending until that user activates their account, at which time they'll move from pending to be an active member of my team. Once they become active, if I navigate to the Compute tab right here, I can see the hardware setup for every member of my team. So all of the members of my team have installed AI Studio on a machine. You can see that machine here, as well as the GPU capability of that machine. This might come in useful if you don't have a whole lot of compute power, or maybe no compute power, and you'd like to ask a member of your team to run that job for you if they have enough GPU RAM to do so. All right, so let's move on. We'll head back to the projects page. All right, so now I'd like to show you how to get help if you're ever stuck in AI Studio. The first place that I would navigate to is the guides. So right here on the left-hand side, I just click the guides button, and my web browser opens, and I am brought to ZDocs. ZDocs is our one-stop shop for all documentation about AI Studio. So you can see here on the navigation panel on the left, many topics about the AI Studio workflow for which you can click, and you can have instruction and documentation about that particular part of the workflow. So you can see here under Team Settings, how to manually add users onto an existing team. Yeah, it's the same directions I just gave you. The next stop I would make if I wanted to get help with AI Studio is in the Community button here. So I click Community, my web browser opens, and I am brought to the Z by HP Data Science and AI Community. This webpage is meant as a one-stop shop for AI Studio and other Z by HP products to be able to come to have peer-to-peer collaboration with other data scientists. So while there's lots of useful information about data science at large, there is also product forums here. So if I simply click on the AI Studio discussion forum, I'm brought to a page where I can see posts from other data scientists about their experience with AI Studio. You can see here, somebody had a problem with downloading a workspace after an upgrade. So maybe there's other data scientists who have had the same issue, and you could click on this forum and collaborate there. If you want to post about an issue that you're having, or if you want to post any sort of content at all on this webpage, you'll need to sign in. I've already signed in here, but you'll have a little sign in button on the top right. It will log you in using single sign-on, the same tied to the same HP ID for which you're logged on to AI Studio. Very easy to navigate. Definitely recommend checking out the community when you get a chance. We'll be posting lots of product information as well as other hot topics about data science, as well as future roadmap and where we're going with data science in the future. All right, lastly, if the self-help options of guides and community don't get you what you need, you can click on the support button here. You'll be prompted to file a support ticket. This will be routed to HP support, who will contact you after you file a ticket, probably first via email, and then reach out to potentially schedule a call with you. If they're not able to solve your problem, they will escalate it to our development team for resolution of your problem. All right, so I think we've got the admin stuff out of the way. Now, let's create a project using AI Studio. Project creation is extremely easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the new project button right here. I'm going to give my project a name. We'll just simply call this one demonstration for these purposes. Optional, you can give a brief project description if you'd like. You can choose whether to keep this project private, where only you can see it, or if I click shared, all my team members can see it. In the future, we'll have more role-based access, where you can share it with all members, some members, but for now, it's either just you or your whole team. Those are the two options. You can give your project a tag. A tag is just a little blurb that you can put on the project card that you just saw on my last screen. So you can, just something to help you and your collaborators remember what this is. So in this case, I'm going to say delete-demo. This lets me and my collaborators know this project's not important. We can delete it. This is just a demo. But maybe you want to say, tag it with, this is a computer vision model that I'm running, or something like that. Just anything you want that's going to help you and your collaborators remember what this project is as you get more and more projects that fill your screen out. Again, optional, but helpful. All right, so I've named it, given a description, tagged it. Now let's continue. Okay, so once I've named my project, now I can connect data. So this is where I do that. You'll be queued with data sets that you've connected to previously. You can see those here in my queue right now. If you've never connected to a data set before, you won't have anything in your queue. But the second time you do it, you will. So I can choose to add data now, or I can skip this step and do it later on once I've created my workspace. But for now, I'll go ahead and show you how to connect data. So if I want to use one of these things I've already done before, I can, or I can click New Asset right here. Let's go ahead and name whatever my asset or data set's going to be. Again, we'll just call this a demo. Asset type. All right, so I hit that little drop down, and you can see I have the option to connect to locally stored data, or I have the option to connect to data in AWS S3. We are actively integrating with Azure and GCP right now. So there will be multi-cloud in the future, but for now, today, we have these options to connect to either locally saved data or AWS. Later on, I will show you how to clone a GitHub repo as well. That is an option. All right, so just for this example, I'm going to show you how to connect to locally saved data. So I've chosen locally saved data. Now I have to give it a path. Where is it saved on my machine? All right, so I've saved my data sets here in this folder, AI Studio DS Experiments. Select folder. All right, pro tip, AI Studio does not like spaces in the path. So if you had AI Studio -DS, or I'm sorry, space DS, it's going to throw you an error. So make sure you don't have any spaces in your path. All right, so I've given it a path. I've given it a description. I can give descriptions optional. Again, I can add a tag to it. Great, let's go ahead and connect this to this data set that's saved on my desktop. Create an asset. All right, wonderful. Now I can see that folder where I have everything saved is now says added. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and create our project. Okay, I created my project, and it's brought me straight into the next step of the flow, which is starting your workspace. I'll just quickly show you though. If I navigate back to my project screen, look, I have the project that I just created here. Since I shared it, now it's not only visible to me, it's visible to all my collaborators as well. My collaborators could start jumping in this project and working in it as well. It's shared that quickly with your team. All right, so let's go ahead. I just simply clicked on that project card. And now we need to define our workspace. So I'm going to click the new workspace button. All right, so what we've done is we've created containerized templates with images in them simply for ease and speed. So just an example, these templates, you got minimal, data science, deep learning. The minimal template, if you just click learn more, you're going to see the different images and libraries that are in that minimal template. Not all of them, but it'll give you a brief description. Jupyter Lab, simple extensions, pandas, scikit, learn. Now if I click on the data science, learn more, I can see that it's going to have everything that the minimal had, plus now it's going to have data visualization tools such as Seaborn, Altair, other utilities such as Numba. Now if I go to deep learning, click learn more, everything that the first two had, plus now it's going to have deep learning libraries like TensorFlow and PyTorch. These templates, again, they're just for ease and speed. If they've got the tools that you need in it, you don't need to go define your workspace and do a bunch of work to create it. Just simply click, select on one of these templates, give it a name, create your workspace. Chances are, most data scientists are going to want a little bit more flexibility of how they create their workspace. So they're going to come here to create a custom workspace. All right, while I'm here, you can see those same templates that I just talked about here on the screen: minimal, data science, deep learning. You can hit the drop down here on each of these, scroll down, and you can see exactly the tools that are in each one of those predefined templates that I just walked through. So that's how you can see exactly what's in them. Okay, just for the sake of this example, I know that I'm going to need some of these tools that are in the deep learning GPU, and I'm also going to need a tool called XGBoost, a decision tree. All I have to do is type in XGBoost here. AI Studio is going to reach out and it's going to download the most recent version of XGBoost. So what I've done is I've said, hey, AI Studio, I've clicked on Deep Learning GPU. I want you to go grab all of those tools that you have in a container sitting there for me. Also, I want you to go grab XGBoost. If I were to hit Create Workspace right now, it'd go out and grab those out of the container and it would bring them locally on my machine to be able to run them against my data set. Alternatively, you have this option right here called with a little link says requirements.txt. If you have a requirements file saved on your machine, you can simply click here, upload your requirements file, and with the definition of the libraries that you want, with the images that you want, and create your workspace. AI Studio will reference that requirements document and go out and get the things you need. So you have the choice. You have 3 different ways that you can define your workspace. You can use a combination of all 3, or you can just use one. Choice is yours. While we're here, this recommended setup, this is a bit confusing. If you hover over the little information, this recommended setup is not determining how many compute resources AI Studio will use for your project. It is simply for you to notate for you and your colleagues to keep a record of how many resources you recommend. It's simply a notation. It's a note-keeping space. AI Studio is going to use your compute resources that are local on your machine, and it's going to use all of them. There's no sharding, there's no splitting the GPU for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and name my workspace. Again, we'll just call this a demo. Once I give it a name, you can see the Create Workspace becomes purple, and I hit that button. Voila, I now have my workspace card right here. If I hit this play button, it's going to go out and actually execute grabbing those images out of the container that I mentioned before, bring them locally on the machine. Important note, the first time that you run a workspace that you've never downloaded before, AI Studio is going to have to use the internet to go out and download those from that container and bring them onto your machine. Once you've downloaded those images onto your machine once, you never have to do it again. The reason why this is important, if I had not downloaded them before, I'd have a little download button right here. And if I hit play, I'd bring up a note that says you need to download this. It might take a while depending on how heavy your images are. This deep learning template that I had picked, it's pretty heavy. Depending on my internet speed, that could take 20 to 45 minutes for me to be able to go download that onto my machine so that I could run my workspace. If you've already downloaded it before, if I were to hit this play button, it'd probably take somewhere in between 10 to 30 seconds to spin up my workspace. Okay, now we've walked through project creation, we've walked through connecting a data set, and we walked through how to define your workspace. I'm not going to hit the play button now because I don't want to have you sit here and watch me. I've already done the next steps in a project that I've already created. So I'm going to back out of this. I've already have this project running. It's called Shakespeare. It's using a Shakespeare natural language processing model. And so I've already done all the steps I mentioned before. I've done my project. I've connected to data. I've defined my workspace. And now I've hit the play button. I've gone out and downloaded all those images locally on my machine, and it's spun up my workspace. So you can see that play button is now a pause button. All right, so now I have a new little button here that says Open Jupyter. I hit that button, and it's going to open up my Jupyter IDE, and we're now in our workspace. All right, so you've got the toggles over here to go full screen if you want. Makes it quite a bit easier to see your notebook. We are now in Jupyter, our integrated IDE. So in the particular example that we're walking through now, as you remember, I connected to locally saved data. When you're creating a data connection pointer to that locally saved data, when you do that, you'll find your data either in the local folder or the data fabric. You can open that up. You'll be able to find your data set in there. If you want to share that locally saved data set so that your team can access it, you'll need to copy and paste that from the data fabric folder into the shared. Once you do that, your team will be able to access it. In most cases, people are going to be collaborating and using like GitHub or using like AWS or another cloud service. So the only time that you need, and so you're collaborating there using the GitHub repo, pushing and pulling. That's how you're collaborating your team, just through AI Studio. So the only time you need to actually move a data set into the shared folder is if it's locally saved on your machine and you want to share it with them. You can share it through AI Studio in the shared folder. All right, so let's go ahead and access our data set. So in this particular case, I'm actually using a GitHub repo that I've cloned, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But this is my GitHub repo. I got this project saved right here, I think. Okay, so text generation with neural networks. You can see that we've got hooks built into TensorFlow here. So here you've accessed your model. You can go through, code it here. You can edit it, do whatever you need to do. So you do that here. Your team can do that here, and you can run and train your model here. You can go to, you can use the shortcuts in each cell to run them. You can go to run all cells from here, and you can run and train your model. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and back out of this. So yeah, here's my notebook, but then I'm going to go ahead and click over to monitor. I've already ran this model. It's got MLflow and TensorBoard hooks into it. So if you pop over to the monitor tab, go to MLflow. This is where you can see your MLflow runs and compare them. You can see that the version 2, which has been ran. You can also click over to TensorBoard, and you can monitor your model in TensorBoard here, as you can see. All right, I'll go ahead and pop over into setup and documentation. So it's going to give you some basic information about this product, about this project, tags that we've given it, members who have access to this project. Again, remember we set that up when we set up our project and decided it would be shared. If I click over to setup here, so this shows you assets and GitHub repositories associated with this project, as well as a file folder structure where things were saved. This is, you can see here for GitHub repository, I already have one cloned. If I did not have one cloned, there'd be a purple button right here that says clone. So if you click that button, it'll guide you through. You have to have the URL to the GitHub repo that you want to connect to. You can connect to public ones, you can connect to private ones. If you're connecting to public, you just need to have a GitHub account. If you're connecting to a private one, like maybe one that you yourself has or you're working with your team, you'll need to have the credentials to access that. So you give it that URL for where your GitHub lives. You give it a pathway where you're going to clone it onto your machine. You can see here I've got my GitHub cloned on my desktop, and it clones. It's very simple to do. All right, and so now if I pop over into publish services, it takes a second for the screen to refresh. So for the sake of time, I did not, I've already published this model for local inferencing. You'll see that here in a sec. I've already got it running just to keep you all from having to sit there and wait for a long time while it spun up. But in order to start a new model service, very simple. The steps that I followed to get here where my model is already running, you simply click the new service button, select your model. So in this case, we've got one model to choose from. The model versions, this would be based off the runs. You could choose 1 or 2, and you give it a name and simply hit deploy. So you can see I've already done that using the RNN model deployment version 2. I went ahead and ran it. When I run that, it's going to give you a URL where it's deploying. We're integrated with Swagger. So I'll go ahead and click that. And you can see here, Swagger pulls up with that model. So you can click through here and you can actually see the deployment Again, this is for local inference only. See the schemas, the model input, the model output. You can test that from here. This particular model is a RNN model that's basically emulating Shakespeare text. So the idea is that you can put in a prompt, you could put in a word, and then this model is going to base the next set of words that follow that word that you input, but it's going to do it in Shakespeare format of speech. So again, if you just wanted to go ahead and test that in the string right here, you can. In this particular case, we built an API call and a small little front-end GUI just for like demo purposes. But yeah, just again, a little small word so I can, again, you type it in a word and it's going to predict the next, in this case, 120 words after the word knight. Maybe it was Shakespeare, so we'll put in sword. The next 120 words, submit that, and it gives you an output here. There you go, swords, and a bunch of Shakespeare formatted text after that. I guess it's characters, not words. But that is the deployment of this model. I hope you found this product demonstration useful. If you have any questions, please reach out to your account lead or the product team or support, and go to the community. The community site, you'll be able to communicate directly with our product team, our support teams, as well as other data scientists.